So if you guys want to, I guess we could start it now. So if you guys want to introduce yourselves, I don't know how many of you guys are going to be speaking today from the team, but introduce yourselves, the team, brief intro of the project, and then we can go through that presentation. That'd be awesome. Oh, my bad. There, I unmuted you.
Awesome. There we go. Cool. A couple of our team members are joining. That's great. So I'll introduce myself first, and we'll pass it around. So hi everybody. My name's Magnus. I am normally based in New Zealand. Just to give a bit of intro to myself, my role is CTO for the EXO project, and I've been in the crypto space probably for I've been aware of crypto since 2011, but I've really only got involved from about 2015 onwards. I didn't join actual projects till about DeFi season back in late 2017. And in this most recent round, I've definitely got a lot more involved in actually getting hands-on and running projects. EXO as a project is a culmination of, I guess, all of the things that I've learned with my colleagues from the different projects. I'll pass across to Jay.
Yay Jay in chat.
Yes.
All right. I just unmuted him.
Hey everybody, I'm Jay. I kind of do operations. Well, not kind of. I do operations within the team here at EXO. So a lot of the internal systems, we're going to get official and regulated and those types of things. So I'll be taking care of a lot of that internal focus stuff. I got into crypto in the end of 2012 when I bought my 10-year-old a Bitcoin mining machine for his 10th birthday. So kind of been playing with it since then.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I want to be your kid so I can get a Bitcoin mining machine when I was 10.
Yeah, he's graduated high school and he's currently traveling the world.
Gotcha. That's awesome. So yeah, tell us a little bit about your project. If you want to start the screen share, you can do that. We can go through the presentation. I'd love to see it.
Cool. I'll just do that now.
All right.
How did your son get into Bitcoin? It's kind of off topic, but I'm kind of curious.
I bought him a mining machine and told him it was the future of money. That's how.
Dad of the year right there.
You have a bunch of mining machines yourself too? Yes, we can see it.
Just one more intro. We've got Kryptonite here as well. If you wouldn't mind unmuting him too.
Oh yeah, of course.
I have to introduce myself. Hold on. Yep. Hey guys. Sorry, I'm driving, running around doing errands with my wife. My name is Donnie Mertens. Work on the marketing team over at EXO. I've been in crypto industry since about 2015, 2016. Worked with a few projects. I've moderated for a few. Currently, I work marketing for Mandala Exchange. We are the first privately owned exchange hosted on the Binance Cloud system. And I think Magnus is going to tell you guys a little bit about a partnership that we helped put together between EXO and Mandala later on. I'm just excited to be here and excited to, bring EXO to the world, change the way DeFi is currently presented. Thanks for having me. I'm going to go ahead and mute myself so I can drive. Sorry, guys.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Excited to have you.
Awesome. So I guess I'll set the scene and we'll jump into it. Today we'll be talking a little bit about, I guess, the why EXO exists, what the opportunities are that we're kind of going after and the problems that we're solving. And we're also going to show a couple of preview shots of the platform that's being built right now. This is actually the first group that we'll be showing these shots to, so I hope you guys feel special for that.
Ooh.
All right. So EXO as a platform, what we've kind of found over the last couple of years as we've worked in the crypto space is that there's been a bunch of tools that have kind of emerged to the market because there was a need. So, swap platforms or DEXs, they came out but people needed a way to swap between the native blockchain currency and whatever project currencies or project tokens were out there. We needed launchpads because there was a need to actually be able to safely and fairly launch projects or fundraise. We needed locking tools because there needed to be some way to actually provably lock tokens up and support projects that way. But I guess what we found was that with all these tools that have come out, no one's really gone back and reimagined what the tools should look like. We've just created forks and forks and forks of these original tools. No one's actually gone back and said, what if we actually change the way that a swap actually works on a DEX? Or what if we went back and added more conditions to the way that locks work? So that's, I guess, the first kind of opportunity that we saw was that, what if we actually went back and reimagined what these tools could look like, and what if we actually integrated them more closely together, made a more kind of connected ecosystem. So that's kind of the first area that we looked at. We also saw that with a lot of projects, let's just take, for example, a lot of projects on BSC. For projects to raise money, for marketing, to do DEX, or to do centralized exchange listings, all of these different things, there's often there's a large need to raise funds. And the main way that they do that right now is by selling the taxes they collect. The problem with that is you're basically generating a red candle on your chart every time you need to convert those back into funds that you can use for marketing. And so what we wanted to do is look at, is there another way that we can actually still allow projects to collect taxes, but can we do it in a way that doesn't cause any kind of negative effect on the chart? How do we stop projects from hurting their own project when they try to actually, progress it forward? And then what we also wanted to do was for projects that have launched and may have wanted to change direction a little bit, or maybe introduce some new features, how do we enable them to add those additional features without actually having to redeploy their whole token? A full token redeploy is tough. It takes a lot of effort. A lot of community members don't see that the migration is happening. It's just a really tough kind of process to go through. So what if we could actually enable new features on project tokens without actually having to have to force them to actually migrate? So that's, I guess, at a high level, some of the opportunities that we're looking to target. Now, EXO as an ecosystem, we have a number of different products within our portfolio, and each of these products is tightly integrated together, but can be used independently if needed. Our hero product, or our primary product, is EXO Swap, and it's basically just a DEX. But what we've done is we've taken that concept of a traditional decentralized exchange and we've kind of flipped it on its head a little bit. We've reimagined what it actually looks like to be a DEX. It's more than just swapping liquidity with a liquidity pool. What I'll be doing is jumping into each of these different products within our ecosystem, going into a bit more detail as to the features, the unique selling points, and what we've done differently and why we think that people should be using them. But at a high level, I just want to quickly introduce each of the products. So we've got Swap, which is our main swap tool. We've got EXO Lock, which is really a pretty awesome way to do token locking going forward. As a little preview, it's a lot more than just time locking. So we'll talk about that in a bit. EXO Start, which is our launchpad, on being able to fairly launch projects and tight integration into the locking and swap platforms. EXO Tools is a collection of utilities that we've built that you can bolt on to an existing project and enable community governance, or enable charts, or enable a bunch of different features within your platform. And then EXO Market is a really awesome way to kind of find talent to enhance your project. So you started a project and you need to find a great designer or a great crypto marketer. EXO Market is the place to go to find verifiable talent that you can bring into your team. So if we start with this, the token that's kind of underlying the whole ecosystem, EXO is our project name. EXO is also our token. The EXO token is designed to have a total 100 million token supply, but we are on a vesting and emission schedule. So it'll be a long time till we actually hit that final total 100 million tokens. Now, one unique thing we've implemented within the EXO token is this idea of a rising peg. And so what we want to do is encourage people to we want to encourage people as they trade on the platform or they use any of our tools in the ecosystem to actually send some of those fees that are collected towards buying back and burning the token if we are if we're above the peg, or if we're below the peg, we want to actually produce more emissions and reward the yield farmers with additional rewards. So what this has as an effect is to actually increase the price floor on the token, and that will continue to happen as the project grows and gets used more. Now, the same token is also being used for community governance. So if you want to be a part of controlling the direction of where EXO goes, then we would definitely encourage you to hold some EXO to give you some votes there. We are looking to use that community governance across all of our tools. So you'll be able to get quite a bit of a steer, help us to steer the direction of where the project is going. The EXO token will be launching on BSC on day one. So that's kind of where the token will exist, its primary chain. But a lot of our utilities will be launching across many chains. All right, let's talk about Swap. So EXO Swap is our, like I said before, it's our core product. It's the center of our ecosystem. And the Swap platform is designed as a DEX, but with a couple of additional things that make it special. The first thing is around the taxes. And I talked before about how, as a project, when you need to raise funds, you pretty much have to sell your own token. And this can be a destructive activity or a dangerous activity towards your project. So what we've done is we've actually enabled taxes within the DEX itself. So you could say, for example, say I've got my EXO token as the project. I can say we want to take a 2% tax for team treasury and a 2% tax for marketing. And I can specify that that tax is taken before the swap happens. And the reason why this is pretty awesome is because the currency that you're swapping from is generally a stable coin or a large cap. This means that we're now collecting the tax in BNB or BUSD or BTCB, one of those more stable coins. And that means it doesn't have any effect at all on the chart of your project. So the side benefit of this is also for projects that don't have the ability to set taxes on their token. They can still set them on the exchange. So we can actually allow them to collect taxes if they need to for a period of time. Now, inside the platform, we do make it very visible as to what taxes actually apply, which is a benefit, I think, on top of traditional tokens, because, before you kind of have to go off what it says in the Telegram channel or the Discord community. Inside Swap, we can be very explicit about how much tax is actually going to apply to your swap. One other really key feature that we're super excited about with the EXO Swap is our partnership with Mandala. And this was briefly mentioned by Donnie earlier. Essentially, what we've done is we've partnered with Mandala Exchange, who are an exchange built on top of Binance Cloud. This basically means that Mandala trade on top of the Binance order books and liquidity, and we can extend that liquidity to the DEX platform. This means that you can actually execute a swap trade on EXO Swap. So this is on-chain, but we can actually fill the order using liquidity on Binance. So this basically means that when we launch, EXO Swap will have access to some of the largest liquidity out of all exchanges in the market on day one. So I don't know how to state this more, but this is pretty awesome in terms of being able to offer huge amounts of currency pairs and also huge amounts of liquidity on day one. And this will be available to everybody as we launch the platform. Now, in the future, we'll be looking to also enable cross-chain swapping as well. So the ability to swap from, let's just say BNB to ETH. And you could do that in one transaction starting from BSC inside the EXO Swap platform and having that ETH turn up in one transaction on your Ethereum wallet. So that's all going to be made possible through that Binance liquidity, through the Mandala Exchange partnership that we have. So those are kind of the project-focused features. The one last thing I want to talk about with Swap is our incentives for traders. One thing we've seen is that with centralized exchanges, it's super common to be able to get, for example, trading rebates, get fee rebates back into your wallet that you can then use to save on fees, and you can keep trading. You can generate more profit. We want to be able to implement a similar concept within EXO Swap as well. And so what we've basically proposed here is that we have our own type of loyalty scheme within the EXO Swap platform, and as you trade, every $100 roughly of volume that you put through the platform, you get issued an EXO Play token. And these Play tickets or tokens can be used to interact with a bunch of the EXO Swap games that we have. We've also got a jackpot, which entitles you to win a chunk of the trading fees that are actually being collected. Or you can even buy EXO merch or other items from our store, like the EXO store within EXO Swap, with those Play tokens as well. So think of it kind of like an arcade where you can actually spend those tokens for rewards. And we're going to expand the different benefits that you can get from those tokens. But the idea here is that as you continue to trade on the platform, you get rewarded with those tokens. It doesn't matter where the order is filled from, we'll still give you the rewarded tokens. So that's the plan there. And so that's how we've kind of addressed both the project and the individual traders. This is the first look at the dashboard here. You can see this is all sample data on the screen, but this is kind of the design language we're going for. It should look kind of familiar to some of the platforms that you may be used to today. That is intentional. We want it to feel familiar, but also we want it to have its own kind of design language as well. And I won't dwell too much on this, but this is kind of where we're going. In terms of our progress right now, EXO Swap is almost finished. It's actually deployed on testnet, and we're running through our set of tests at the moment. We have actually implemented the custom fees, and they do work. So it's pretty exciting. Okay, so EXO Lock. Locking platforms exist right now, and there are a bunch of projects that are completely centralized, like centered on their lock product. But what you'll find is that most of those lock products are pretty much just offering time-based locking. And time-based locking is good, but let's say, for example, you've launched a project and you've locked away, let's say, $1 million BUSD because you want to save that for 12 months later for marketing funds or exchange listings. The problem is that you get a lot of traction early on and your market cap goes really big, and you're now at a point where you kind of need those funds, but you can't get access to them because they're locked away for 12 months. What we've done to help facilitate those types of processes is we've enabled what we call performance-based locking. So time-based locking we can still do, but we've taken it a step further and we've said you can now create a lock with multiple conditions. So you can say, if the time hits 12 months, full unlock. But if the market cap hits a certain level, that's also a condition that allows the lock to be unlocked. And so based on the performance of the token, like the market cap, or based on the time, those funds can be unlocked and made available to you. And so what we're doing at the moment is creating a whole bunch of different performance metrics that you can use to unlock. We have market cap, token price, number of holders, and a whole lot of other ones that are coming as well. But we can actually allow in the future the ability to unlock based off any oracle as well. And so we're looking at really interesting ideas of how locks can be used. For example, one thing that I've been looking at as a cool demonstration would be, let's say we partnered up with a sports team and it's the final game, and that sports team basically, as part of the sponsorship, we've said if the sports team wins, then we'll unlock all of these locks. People will get a bonus. But if the sports team loses, then we won't unlock those locks. So we'll have an oracle which can determine whether or not that team won, and based on that condition, all the locks could unlock and people could get a bonus. So if you can imagine, these types of partnerships within that locking platform could make really interesting mechanics that just are not possible right now with locking platforms. So we've actually almost finished Lock as well. EXO Lock is currently deployed on testnet and almost complete. This gives you a little bit of an idea as to what the logic kind of looks like. If I can get a bigger one second. Yeah, so you can see here, you can create almost like an if-else logic. So if the token price hits 2 years, unlock, or if the dollar of the token reaches $4, also unlock. So, you know, there's going to be some really, really interesting mechanics of how these conditional logic statements can be used to unlock tokens going forward. Okay, so EXO Start is our launchpad, and EXO Start as a launchpad, what we really want to do is give people the power to accurately determine what their tokenomics are going to be. I've been involved in a couple of token projects, and I've found it's particularly difficult to decide on a starting price, decide on the vesting schedules, to figure out how much liquidity to put in at the beginning. It's really tough. And so EXO Start provides pretty much a wizard where you can type in your numbers and it will help you to actually determine, you know, how much tokens need to be minted at the beginning with how much liquidity at the same time to create the token price that you're going for, but also, you know, supporting the different rounds that you want to run and all of that. So EXO Start is kind of our first party launchpad that brings you into the EXO ecosystem. And when your project actually launches through EXO Start, you can also have the locks automatically created, the swap liquidity pool created as well. It's all tied together and natively integrated. So that's really where EXO Start is. We still will partner with other launchpads because EXO is an open ecosystem. But for people who want to natively launch through EXO, this is our preferred kind of launchpad, if that makes sense. You can see there a little bit of a screenshot around what our native EXO token is going to be launching through. We're actually going to be using our own EXO Start platform to launch the EXO token. So EXO as a almost like a case study of how other projects can launch. They can see how we did it with our own tools. Now, if anyone's interested, our pre-sale rounds are about to open. We're going through a whitelisting process at the moment. If anyone is interested in a whitelist spot, we are doing giveaways of whitelist spots over the next little while. So feel free to put your interest in the chat, and we'll be able to help you out there.
Yeah, I just want to expand on that real quick. We are giving away 5 whitelist spots to the top 5 questions, and then 3 to random members in the audience. So just want to make that clear so everybody's aware and didn't have time to ask their questions, but continue on. Thanks.
Awesome. There's a lot I'm covering here, so I'm hoping there's a couple of questions at the end. And then the last like major piece of functionality I want to talk about today is our marketplace, or our EXO Market. And so what we've found is that as a project, it's really hard to find good talent that is verifiably easy to work with. It's common for people to jump on Upwork or Fiverr or any of these platforms to try and find a marketer or a developer or whatever roles they need. But you never really know if it's just that person working or if there's a team behind them. You never really know if they've just copied code from someone else that they wrote. So what we really want to do is create a safer marketplace that people could actually be certified for the work that they've completed and kind of validated. And so if, for example, you were a developer and you launched a project with EXO Start, we can actually take that event taking place and we can attach your profile on EXO Market to that project that you launched or were a part of. And so you can build up a reputation inside an EXO Market based on the projects you've worked with and the reviews that your customers have kind of left with your profile. And so what we want to do is essentially create a safe marketplace for being able to find talent, to build a team, and those types of things. one thing that we're kind of proud of for the EXO market is that if you are launching through EXO Start and you've detailed who the team members are that you've got, we can actually almost do matchmaking between the team that you have on your project right now and the roles that you're trying to find within the marketplace. So we can try to recommend, you've got a strong marketing team and a strong development team, but you don't have a community manager. How do we help you find a community manager that's well aligned to your project? And so that's the idea here with Marketplace, with the EXO Market. Okay, so that's pretty much an end-to-end through a lot of the tools that we have in the EXO ecosystem. What I might do at this point is just open it up to the EXO team if anyone else has got any comments. And other than that, we'll open it up for questions.
Yeah, I'm just giving it time if anybody from the team wants to add anything to that. But I think that was an awesome presentation. It's really refreshing to hear from a project that actually has products that they're working on and can show us visual examples of what that's going to look like, and actually, have in detail, like they know exactly what they are doing, when they're going to do it, and what to expect for the people that are going to be using the platform. So that is awesome. You guys are definitely doing something that's more innovative than a vast majority of the projects that we've heard from in the past. So I do commend you a lot on that. That is awesome.
Really appreciate that. One thing we're really going for is when we run our pre-sale rounds, our final round will be a public round. And at the conclusion of that, we want to actually drop the functionality straight away. We don't want to be a project that is raising and then waiting a year before the product launches. We've kind of already invested in the product ourselves and the development's almost finished. So that's kind of our approach to all of this.
I just
I
want
would
to
like
say,
to.
you
Oh,
go
go ahead.
first. No, you can go first.
I just wanted to make a comment on one of the features. I know we had kind of talked about this. This is one of the features that really excites me about our project is, working from a marketing standpoint in the crypto industry. It's not an easy role. It's a difficult position. There's a lot of scams out there, a lot of paid groups that just hire a bunch of bots, and you got to make sure you're working with some legitimized projects when you do like these AMAs and things. So one of the features that really, pulled me to EXO was the way that the EXO Start is going to integrate with the EXO Market. And Magnus, you said it really good in our last AMA that we had yesterday, how that integration can work and how a new project can come on to EXO Start, start to raise funds and get recommended a certain marketing project AMA group, something like call group, or even a developer if they're more, if they don't have that strength in their team. Can you speak a little bit more on that, Magnus?
Yeah, so I guess what I mentioned before with the matchmaking was that when you set up when you go and create your pre-sale inside EXO Start, a big part of that is kind of detailing who the team is, what the build-up of the team is, so what the roles are and responsibilities, things like that. And any roles that kind of don't exist right now, you can go to EXO Market to have those roles filled. And that can either be through contractors, you want to find someone who just builds some graphics for you to get things going. But it also could be, I want to find a long-term team member to help join and build the project with me. And so the idea is that based on what people have marked on their profiles, we can match up particular people that might be well aligned to those projects. And because it's transparent around people's track record and about projects they've worked on in the past, it gives you a bit more information to be informed as you go and make those decisions and talk to each other and figure those things out. But one other key thing that I should mention as well is that it's not just about finding people, it's also about finding potential groups or partnerships as well. So, eventually we want to be able to have partnerships with centralized exchanges there, where in the marketplace there is a clearly defined process for actually listing with that exchange through EXO Market. You're not having to go through some kind of dodgy listing agent that you don't know is actually part of their organization or not. There is a predefined path through EXO Market. Or, you want to find a bunch of call groups that have been vetted and actually are awesome. We might find Cardinal through the EXO Market, that might be a way to kind of drive additional projects towards the Cardinal group as well. So that's kind of where we want to be able to offer that service.
Yeah, that's awesome. I launched a project 2 months ago actually, and the first week was just absolutely crazy and getting listed on CoinMarketCap, and then that brought in so many of these fake listing agents and fake promoters. And for those of you guys that don't know firsthand what he's talking about, this is absolutely huge in my view. So that is awesome that you guys are doing that, because that is so much needed, like, more than anybody could comprehend other than people that have seen it firsthand, of course. But that is awesome. As far as like a timeline goes, so when are you guys launching, and then what is going to be available at launch, and then if there isn't going to be one of these services available, when would that be available?
Current timeline for launch is end of Q2, start of Q3, and we're on track right now. A lot of our tools are already in testnet, going through the unit tests, integration tests, and things like that. In terms of the features we're launching for version 1, if you go to our website, exo.fi, and check out our white paper, we've kind of divided up the functionality into what's going to be in MVP, our minimal viable product, versus what's coming in later phases. But if I'm going to quickly just summarize it, day 1, we're launching Swap, so EXO Swap. EXO Swap will have full liquidity pool functionality. We'll have integration with Mandala and Binance liquidity, and we'll also have custom fees implemented. So that's going to be fully there from day 1. For EXO Lock, we've already got the conditional logic working, so we will have custom performance-based locking available on day 1, and we'll have a slimmed down version, an early version of our launchpad coming on version 1 as well. The one other piece of functionality we'll be launching on day 1 is a Telegram and Discord bot. We've actually built EXO Bot, and this bot, it has all the standard things like charts and everything like that. It also has a built-in lottery function and built-in community governance as well. So you can kind of implement community governance in your community. But the key thing we've done with this bot versus a lot of the other ones in the market now is that it provides the exact same functionality on Discord that it does on Telegram. So the same commands work on both, and you can use it on either or on both at the same time. So we wanted to be able to service both different sets of community tools. So that will be available on launch as well.
Gotcha. That's awesome. One question from chat was, what is the advantage to being whitelisted?
For our pre-sale, we have 3 rounds coming up. We've got pre-sale 1 and pre-sale 2, and those 2 require a whitelist to participate. So if you would like to buy the token at a discount, then it's in your best interest to be whitelisted. If you're in private sale 1 or private sale 2, that allows you to buy the token at a discount. If you are in the public sale, that is just basically guaranteeing you an allotment, but you're paying the full token price for that.
Gotcha.
I had another question for you guys. It's on the marketing side of things, but how do you guys plan on marketing your innovations and the fact that it actually is new utility and not just forks?
Donnie, do you want to give that one a go? You might be driving. I can jump into that. So what we've started to do is create a whole bunch of explainer videos specifically around the unique functionality. So, with Swap, we really want to highlight the custom fees towards projects and the loyalty scheme, like the EXO Play tickets towards our traders. So we've built a lot of kind of educational content, still on our way building that out at the moment, and we'll be really hammering hard the marketing specifically on those features. So that's one way to kind of get it out there. And the other thing is we'll be running promotions that will focus on those features so that people get used to using them. One thing I didn't really mention before on the EXO Play tickets side of things is that EXO Swap on day 1 will allow you to interact with existing EXO liquidity pools, which obviously on day one will be limited to start. So what we'll be offering is a bunch of liquidity pairs through Binance, like we said before, through the Mandala, and also through Pancake and the other swap platforms on BSC. So it's kind of like an aggregator of other dexes at the same time. So we'll be able to fill orders with a whole bunch of different platforms behind the scenes, regardless of what platform you're interacting with. You'll still get the EXO Play ticket. So what we want to do is encourage people to stop at EXO as the primary interface, the primary tool that you use. And regardless of where the order gets sent, we'll still reward you, even if we're not the ones filling it on our platform. So there's a bunch of activities like that that we'll be doing to encourage people to work and understand and try out this new functionality. Yeah.
Very interesting. And is all your videos and content going to YouTube or what platform?
Yes. So the content will be available on YouTube. Our channel is still being set up, so you'll probably start seeing more of that content as we get closer to launch. We've partnered up with Hypercubed as well, who've done a lot of the really awesome crypto videos out in the crypto space. So they're producing a lot of the deeper explainer videos, and then we have a couple of short form content videos that we're producing as well.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so let's move into security of things, like such things as being doxxed or KYCs or audits. What's your guys' plan for before launch and then anything after launch as well?
The majority of our team will be doxed on day one, and in fact, a lot of our team already are doxed. Our website will be updated with people's LinkedIn profiles and names and photos in the coming weeks. In terms of KYC, we will be KYC through Certic, and an extension to that is that we'll be auditing all our contracts through Certic as well. We find that the Certic KYC offering is probably the most reasonable price and reputation-wise, so we will be looking to go through them.
Perfect. Yeah, Certic's a big one, and I know I love seeing that when teams dox themselves, because that to me that shows that they're really serious about what they're doing and believe in what the product is that they're trying to put out. So that's awesome to hear. Then
Sure.
how does the token itself work? I read a little bit of the white paper, and they kept mentioning the deflationary mechanisms and the price floor. So if you want to touch up on that and how you guys plan to have a constant upward momentum on the price.
Yeah, so the core of all of this is really our rising peg mechanism. That's what we refer to it as. And essentially, we've taken the idea of a token peg, and we've implemented that inside the utilities around EXO. So the easiest example, just to explain, is let's say people are trading on the EXO platform, and as people trade, a bunch of fees are collected as part of the DEX. That's just how the DEX works. Now, a portion of those fees are diverted towards this peg mechanism. And what happens is if the token price is above the peg, then what we need to do is to buy back the EXO token and burn those tokens. So that's the deflationary aspect. Then if the token is below the peg, we can actually increase the emission rate of rewards that are being paid out to the yield farms. So yield farms are being paid out in EXO, just like you would see on most dexes. They'll pay out, like PagTech will pay out Cake, for example. We'll be paying out EXO, and we'll actually increase the rewards if the token is below the peg. And so that's a way for us to kind of regulate the price. But because the peg is totally dependent on the fees from the exchange, as the volume grows within the exchange, and that's from the swaps, from liquidity generation, from all of the different features within the DEX, that will cause the price to rise, and naturally over time.
Gotcha. Yeah, I like it. Definitely makes sense. And then as far as the EXO token kind of fitting into all of the different services, how exactly does that look? Like how does being an EXO token holder benefit let's say I'm an EXO token holder. How does that benefit me to hold EXO token from the market service, the swap service, and the lock service, and all those different things you guys are coming out with? Like, how does that integrate with helping the whole ecosystem?
We have a staking option that'll be there by default. So if you stake into if you stake your EXO tokens into the platform, you can receive rewards based off which scales based off the trading fees and other fees collected throughout the platform. But the biggest benefit to EXO as a platform is, let's say in the let's use the bot for an example, the EXO bot. As a project, you want to use this bot within your community. You can deploy the bot by default and you'll get the basic set of features that it has. But if you actually link the bot to a wallet that has a certain EXO token holding, that bot unlocks a bunch of additional features to give it like a premium and a free tier. And so we have a bunch of opportunities within the EXO ecosystem to have a minimum token holding or to stake a certain amount. And if you stake or hold those tokens, it unlocks additional features within the platform. So that also encourages a reduction in the circulating supply of EXO, which will also help make the project a bit more sustainable as well. So you'll see a lot of that implemented across the platform too.
Yeah, I like it. The more people that are holding the token at the same time, the more supply, or the less supply there's going to be, sorry, and more demand that there's going to be. So I like that you guys are
Exactly.
implementing a
And
bunch
you'll
of
also
different.
find that gives a lot of people a diverse set of votes as well, because we want to make sure that with the governance that the votes aren't all held by us and that the votes aren't all held by the biggest whales. So by actually having everybody locking a small amount, that gives everybody an even number of votes across the whole ecosystem.
Yeah, that's not even that is something that I haven't even thought about. So that's really cool to hear too. And so one other question I had before we kind of move into the audience questions: what are you guys doing compared to the competition? I know that you guys aren't the only ones coming out with some of these services. Now, I haven't heard of any project that's doing everything that you guys just listed, but there's some different projects, like you said, mentioning working on just a lock or just the swap with different feature that you guys have. What's kind of your plan with, beating out the competition?
There's a few angles that we have on this. The first is that our functionality is pretty much ready to go. We've actually proven all of the unique selling points, all of the unique features. It already works on testnet right now. And if you read the white paper, it does seem a little bit overwhelming, like the amount of features that we're proposing. But the reality is we're actually almost ready to launch. So we're not far off actually being able to deliver on pretty much everything that we have put in that white paper. So I guess the first thing is the tech is real and it's ready to go. The second thing is the tight integration between all the different services. Like it's totally fine if people want to go off to a platform and lock with them, but what we want to do is promote the additional benefits in the other tools by locking with us. And by also getting the mindshare people, if you as a trader have the option of trading through PancakeSwap or through EXO Swap, and the only difference is that EXO Swap may provide a simpler interface with a reward for doing that trade. What we want to do is bring people across to our platform and reward them for doing so. And so by getting more eyes on our platform that way, we're also encouraging people to have EXO in their mind before our competitors. So we've got traditional marketing, but then we've also got building up that mind share and market share through people actually using our tools as well.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great answer. And I do think that out of the projects that I've seen so far, that you guys have definitely the most to offer. So that is awesome. One question kind of related to this that the chat asked was something of this size would obviously require a lot of team members to build it up and a lot of development work. So how many team members in total are there? And then I guess how many like developers do you have and community moderators or managers and all of that sort?
Yeah, in terms of the team members that we have on board right now, including our community team, we have, I don't have an exact number on me. I would say it's probably about 13. But we also, one thing we realized is that to actually deliver on all of this within the timelines that we expected, we needed to basically rely on strong industry partnerships. And so one of the first partnerships we put together was a partnership with Rapid Innovation. They are a crypto development company based in the US. We actually went through quite a lengthy process to vet and decide on who our development partner were going to be. And they've basically given us a full team of developers that are dedicated to our project. And so we've been working with them, and they've been pretty much building the products over the last 3 months or so. And we've only got a couple of months left before we're ready to go. And they are basically an appendage to our core team as well. So yes, the number of products and the number of functionality and all of these things does require a lot of people. And to get that scale early on and to get that development process and team management and community and like project governance and all of that type of stuff from day one, we've partnered up with a strong development company to make that happen.
Gotcha. Yeah, 13 people is definitely a good sized team. It's definitely bigger than 95% of the other projects out there. So that is awesome. A couple other
One other thing
questions.
I'll mention, sorry, one thing I'll mention just quickly on that is that we've also established EXO as a proper company. So we're all experienced outside of crypto in business. We know how to run like IT and software companies. We know how to run from a business point of view, and we want to make sure that the compliance and everything is done correctly. So that's another thing that we can provide confidence in, is that we're actually running the project outside of the crypto space as a legitimate company as well.
Yeah, I really like that too, because a lot of these, projects that aren't looking at it from a legitimate business standpoint are gonna, eventually when the SEC starts cracking down on these projects, they're gonna get into serious trouble and potentially
Yeah,
just get shut down because they're not in compliance with anything and don't know how to become compliant. And quite frankly, they're just not thinking of those things, and that's going to probably be a huge problem down the road for a vast majority of projects out there. So that is
exactly.
phenomenal that you guys are thinking of that. So again, I commend you guys on that. That is awesome.
Cheers.
David K asks, is there any way to offer shorting on your decks?
So that's a good question. The traditional DEX offers basically market making matching. So you deposit tokens into your liquidity pool, you get matched, and you get the resulting tokens out the other side. What we're looking to do, and this is not in phase one, this is a future phase, but we are looking to add custom order types to the liquidity pool as well. The custom order types will bring us more in line with the types of order types that you'd expect from a centralized exchange. So the short answer is we won't have shorting on day one, but the custom order types will allow you to do things like that in the future.
Gotcha. That's awesome. That's really cool. I
And
know. Go ahead, Jojo.
I was gonna get on to another question, but you can finish your thought.
I was gonna say, I know there's this one group that is coming out with a limit order that you can place on a decentralized exchange, kind of like a,
Yes.
I think it's like a addition to a MetaMask wallet or a Trust wallet, or I don't know exactly how it works, but I know they're not even ready with that yet. That's just one feature that's coming up. They don't even have shorting in mind yet, so that's actually really cool that you guys do.
It's not there for day one, so just making sure that's clear.
Yeah,
But it is,
yeah,
our custom order types are planned. Limit orders will be part of that too.
awesome.
A question from Blue Flame who asks, "How often does the floor price increase on the EXO token? Is the increase controlled manually or calculated automatically at set intervals?"
I can jump into a bit more detail on how that peg mechanism works. So what we've based everything off is the TWAP, or the time weighted average price. So that takes an interval of time, takes the average price over that period of time, and the peg is then executed based off that TBAT price. So that's, and because of the deflationary aspect, that's how we can increase the price floor over that period of time.
Gotcha.
Another question from Zoned is, why Binance Smart Chain as opposed to other chains? And then adding on to that, is it because of most tokens would be likely ideal clients that are on Binance Smart Chain compared to other chains?
That is a true statement that a lot of, I mean, if you look at the profile of a lot of BSC tokens, by definition, a lot of them are very much like token fee driven, that type of thing.
Yeah.
That's not the primary reason we wanted to look at BSC first. The first was that we looked at DeFi and the areas where DeFi projects were launching, and we looked at the volume that we're running through those platforms, and it just happened that BSC was well suited in terms of gas, well suited in terms of number of projects launching and volume running through existing dexes. We do have plans to launch on another chain very soon after the BSC launch. So we do have plans to launch on another EVM compatible chain very quickly after launch. We were planning on potentially Polygon, but what we actually want to do is open that up to community governance. So maybe our first community governance vote might be which chain we actually launch on next. So that's the current plan.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. I know cross-chain opportunities open up things like arbitrage and just a bigger audience as a whole. So more volume, more people. That's definitely something that's going to help you guys grow and reach that next level. So that's awesome.
And actually having our partnership with Mandala means that we can already offer cross-chain swapping through them. If we can actually have our DEX on multiple chains, you could, in theory, swap between, let's just say, EXO and ApeCoin on Ethereum. And we would actually facilitate bridging the funds across the chain and then swapping it back on the other side. Like the possibilities for that are pretty endless.
Yeah, that's actually super big. For those of us who don't know what Mandala is, or Mandala, sorry if I butchered the name. Can you guys explain what that is and why that's such a huge partnership?
Sure. So Mandala is a centralized exchange built on top of the Binance Cloud. It's essentially the ability to host your own private exchange on top of Binance liquidity. So when you trade on Mandala, you're trading with other Mandala trade orders, but you're also trading with Binance orders as well. So all of the volume that Binance has available, all that liquidity, is available through Mandala. EXO has a partnership with Mandala to be our primary centralized exchange provider, and they've basically offered their platform to us programmatically, so we can basically receive a trade on EXO Swap. In the background, we can automatically send the funds to Mandala, swap them to a different chain, and withdraw them to a different wallet on a different chain, all in one kind of process. So by actually having that partnership with a centralized exchange, we can offer these really powerful tools.
Yeah, that's definitely massive. That is like I've heard of any other decentralized exchange going towards that sort of route of a partnership. So definitely I see an opportunity there.
It means we don't have to build a bridge either. You see all these exploits happening to DeFi bridges, cross-chain bridges. We
Yeah.
won't have to even build a bridge because we can use Mandala as a bridge. We don't have to build wrap tokens or anything like that. So it's already kind of a security plus on our side too.
We got a question from Glenn Gary who asks if your interface will be simple and understandable for not very advanced users. And an example he used is, so my mom can use it since DeFi is getting much more popular.
Our target market for version 1 is probably not people's mums, I have to say, but we do want to be able to create interfaces that do suit different sets of users. So that can be, I'd say that's a roadmap item for now. Our interface, if you're familiar with like tools like KuCoin or Bog tools, like those types of interfaces, I would say that our complexity or our simplicity of our interface is similar to those at launch, but we do want to actually, release maybe like an advanced and a basic version, things like that in the future.
That's awesome. It's awesome. It's definitely very intimidating for someone new to crypto to try to get into a new project. So that could be huge.
Yeah, I got one more question regarding the leverage trading you mentioned in your white paper before we kind of start to get it wrapped up. But I just wanted to mention one more time for the new people that joined in, we are giving away 5 whitelist spots to the best questions asked, and also another 3 spots to the random audience members. But wanted to mention that one more time for the new people. But my question was, what are the legalities around leverage trading? Like how leveraged can it get, I guess, and what would be the interest rates then for borrowing money?
Yeah, it's I would say out of all the features, the leverage is probably one that we are still scoping up to deliver on, so that we haven't started on the leverage trading yet. If you've What we're looking at is building that functionality off a project, the Taro protocol. I'm not sure if you've heard of that before, but essentially what that does is it allows people to stake single assets, and then people can then borrow those single assets and leverage them and deposit those into yield farms. The way it works is similar to a lot of these other protocols like Aave, where if someone is outside of the bounds of their so in a leverage trade, depending on how many X you leverage, there's an upper and a lower bound in terms of where the trade is safe. If you go outside of those bounds, there's a bot that will usually liquidate your trade, and as a result, that bot receives a bonus. They give a percentage off the liquidation. So we would be looking to implement a similar protocol to that. We may partner up with a project and use their leverage capability, or we may look to implement our own. We haven't fully made that decision yet.
Gotcha. Yeah, that can definitely get really complicated really fast with different regulations and all that. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, Mickey2314 asks, "Hi team, who is the investors in the seed round?"
At the beginning of the seed round, we opened that up to family and friends of EXO. So those were the very first investors. And then we actually, for those who managed to find our community early on, we allowed anyone freely to contribute to the seed round. So you'll see, if you join our Discord community, you'll see people that have the EXO Insiders role. Those are people who were early. We don't know how people found us that early, but they were so early and contributed to the seed round. That was the deepest discount of all the discount private rounds. The seed round is now closed. So, yeah.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Yeah, it looks like that was all the questions, at least for right now, in the chat. Are there any other things that we haven't touched up on that you guys would like to mention?
I think I've covered pretty much most of the ecosystem. Yeah. Anyone else on the EXO team want to add anything?
No, I've got nothing. You did a great job.
Yeah, that presentation, it was awesome and answered a lot of questions before we even had them. So
Awesome.
actually, we have one more question in chat. It was by Judgy. He asks, anything planned on battling blockchain congestions?
That is a very hard problem to solve, because the nature of the blockchain is that we don't have control over the nodes that are processing our transactions. There's not really much we can do, unfortunately, other than try to make sure that our transactions are as gas optimized as possible. Thankfully, the Rapid team are quite skilled, and so once we've got the functionality fully locked down, we're going through a gas optimization exercise to reduce the cost as much as possible for our transactions. So, well, we can't stop congestion, but we can make our transactions go through faster when it is congested.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And gas optimization, I think, is pretty underrated and overlooked on a development side. A lot of projects. Definitely
Yeah.
something that's important. And it looks like we're just having one more question and one more question after another. So we got one more question from Lord Nico. He asks, due to legal implications of how a lot of DeFi projects utilize taxes, making them ineligible to be listed on DEXs, I think he meant centralized exchanges. Are you worried about a limited pool of acceptable protocols initially? Or is it a if you build it, they will come type of scenario?
Honestly, it's a little bit of both. Because we have the ability to offer token pairs through the Mandala Partnership, which, through a centralized exchange, there are tons of pairs available. And because we can also aggregate the pairs available through Pancake and Bakery Swap, it means that on day one, there may not be a lot of pools natively launched on EXO because we still need to get the word out. We still need to work with projects to migrate them across and things like that. But we will also have all of those pairs available as well. So if we can reward people for using pairs that they are already using, that gives us a user base straight away. And that's kind of the strategy we're going with there. From a regulatory point of view, we have a couple of legal advisors that we're working with at the moment. They work with US regulatory authorities on crypto, and it's invaluable to have them kind of advising us because we want to do this legit. We are putting the right preparations in place to make sure that we are compliant and things like that. It's an ongoing process. So right now, it's not a huge concern, but I do agree with you that it is becoming more and more common that in the future we will have to potentially limit the projects that we actually have available through the platform.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. And as you said, regulatory changes are happening all the time, so it's hard to kind of set rules now when they will probably change in the near future. So definitely think that that is the way to go, and you might as well kind of set those rules when you have to versus before and then they change on you. You have to rethink everything through and then go through all the legal complications, and sounds like a mess, but unfortunately that is kind of how new spaces evolve, is with ever changing regulations. But you guys definitely sound like you guys are on top of it for sure. We got a couple more questions coming in late. Do you or will you delay launch at all, or will you think about delaying launch at all, depending on the market conditions? I know I've seen a lot of projects in the last couple of weeks say that they've delayed launch due to how bad the markets have been, just because it's hard to launch a project and have a lot of hype and volume in the core market that we are in now. So is that something you guys are considering?
Yes, we are. And so right now we've set a launch window of end of Q2, start of Q3. We will reassess as time goes on to make sure that, if we have our product ready to go and we have to wait a little while to launch it, that's okay, because it means that we can launch and we'll be ready to go as soon as all the investors and traders are ready. So yes, if we have to, we will delay it. We won't stop development. We may just postpone the launch.
Gotcha. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Like I said, I've seen so many projects just delay launch by a few weeks and then another few weeks because the markets just continue to not perform that well. But eventually the bull run will kick back in. Cross our fingers.
We do believe that we have utility that can provide value even in this market. So it's going to be a decision we need to make that kind of weighs that up. It might be that we launch part of the functionality now and then the remainder of the full launch maybe a bit later on. But that's still under discussion at the moment.
Gotcha. I know we're coming up just over an hour now, but there's one more question in chat, and then I'm just going to cut it off here because it's been over an hour, like I said. So, are there any plans on bringing in / targeting people who are new to blockchain?
We want to encourage anyone to trade on our platform. So the content that we're building right now is more tailored towards existing traders and existing projects or people launching. But in the future, we do want to encourage and make tools available to everybody. So we kind of do need to focus on one segment first, but we will expand that out later as well.
Gotcha. Definitely makes sense. And I think that encouraging new people into DeFi is, I think if done properly and it's easy for those new guys to kind of jump right in, then that's going to give you just that much more of an advantage when competing against other projects that might not have a newer audience base because they're not as easy to use.
Yeah.
Definitely a good thing to have. But yeah, I think that just about wraps us up. I will get the whitelist winners announced right after this AMA. Is there anything that you specifically need from them, like a Discord ID or a wallet address?
Yes, yeah. So anyone who wants to jump on the whitelist, if you wouldn't mind sending us their Discord usernames, and if they can then DM us, we'll send them the whitelist form. Get going.
Gotcha. That sounds great. I will let
If anyone else
everybody
is
know.
interested in winning whitelist spots as well, feel free to join our Discord. We announce different competitions and things to win those spots.
Yeah, I'll drop a link to your Discord right after we finish up here. But
Thank you.
yeah, thank you so much for coming on. It was phenomenal hearing from you guys, and the presentation was super well put together and explained your guys' project very well. And yeah, Jojo, do you have
Happy to be
anything?
here.
I thought the same. It was great to hear from a project that actually came in prepared. That's all I can say. We've had some rough ones this week.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank
Well,
you.
yeah. Thank you so much again for coming on, and I hope you have a great rest of your day and have a great weekend.
Thanks, everyone. Catch you later.
Take care.